The massive alien ship appeared without warning on a quiet Tuesday morning. It simply materialized above New York, its dark metal hull blocking out the sun like an artificial eclipse. The world stopped and stared upward, millions of phones recording the moment that changed human history forever. In the Pentagon's main control room, General Tom Baker watched multiple screens showing the same scene from different angles. His coffee had gone cold, forgotten in his hand as he studied the vessel that dwarfed the tallest skyscrapers. The ship was beautiful in a terrifying way, smooth black metal that seemed to absorb light, with pulsing blue lines running across its surface like glowing veins. "Sir," a young officer called out. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies." The message was simple and clear. "We are the Dominion. Your planet will surrender within 24 hours, or we will demonstrate our power. Resistance is illogical." Around the world, military bases scrambled to high alert. Fighter jets took to the skies, and missile systems locked onto the target. But deep down, everyone knew their weapons would be useless against visitors who could cross the stars. In a small military base in Nevada, Jack Thompson was doing his morning push-ups when the alarm sounded. At 28, he was nothing special to look at. Average height, brown hair, and a strong but not extraordinary build. What made him unique was something he didn't even know about yet. The base doctor had recently flagged his medical results for further study. His skin cells showed unusual properties, but in the chaos of the alien arrival, that information seemed unimportant. How wrong that assumption would prove to be. "Thompson," his commanding officer shouted, running into the barracks. "Pack your gear. You're being transferred to Washington immediately." Jack didn't question the order. In less than an hour, he was on a military transport plane, flying east with no idea why he had been chosen. At the White House, world leaders gathered in an emergency video conference. The Dominion had sent more messages, each one more detailed than the last. They explained their weapons technology: energy beams that could vaporize any known material, shields that could deflect nuclear blasts, and ships that could reduce cities to ash in seconds. "We rule 1,000 worlds," their ambassador announced through the broadcasts. His holographic image showed a tall, thin being with gray skin and large, dark eyes. "We have never failed to conquer a planet. Your primitive technology cannot harm us. But we are merciful. Surrender, and we will guide your species to enlightenment." Dr. Lisa Mason, lead scientist at a secret government facility, was the first to notice something strange in the alien transmissions. "They keep emphasizing their energy weapons," she told the gathered military leaders. "Every example, every demonstration. It's all energy-based technology. What if that's not just pride? What if that's all they have?" General Baker looked thoughtful. "Are you suggesting they've abandoned other forms of warfare?" "Exactly," Dr. Mason said, pulling up Jack Thompson's medical file. "And I think I know why they're in for a surprise. Look at these test results. This soldier's skin cells show remarkable energy absorption properties, and he's not unique. All humans have this ability to some degree. Our bodies evolved to handle solar radiation, electrical charges, and heat transfer. We just never weaponized it because we found simpler solutions." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. A plan began to form. When Jack arrived in Washington, he found himself in a room with the country's highest military leaders. They explained what they needed from him, and despite the fear in his gut, he nodded. "I'll do it," he said simply. "When do we start?" General Baker smiled for the first time since the ship appeared. "Tomorrow morning, son. You're going to help us show these aliens that humanity isn't as primitive as they think." As Jack left to prepare, Dr. Mason turned to the general. "Do you think this will work?" "It has to," he replied, watching the alien ship through the window. "Because if it doesn't, there won't be a day after tomorrow." The aliens chose Central Park for their demonstration. The morning sky was clear, and a cold wind blew across the empty park. The Dominion had set up a testing area with various Earth materials: steel plates, concrete blocks, and even a decommissioned tank. Jack stood behind the military barrier, watching the alien delegation approach. They moved with an odd grace, their tall gray bodies swaying like trees in the wind. Their weapons looked like art pieces, sleek silver tubes with blue light pulsing along their length. "Remember," Dr. Mason whispered beside him, "no matter what happens, our scans show your skin cells are specially adapted for this. You'll feel warmth, nothing more." Jack nodded, but his dry throat made it hard to speak. Hundreds of cameras broadcasted the event worldwide. The weight of humanity's future pressed down on his shoulders. The alien ambassador, who called himself the High Commander, stepped forward. His large eyes scanned the crowd of military and government officials. "We will now demonstrate why resistance would only bring suffering to your species." The first test began. A lower-ranked alien pointed one of their weapons at a steel plate. A beam of blue light shot out, and the metal didn't just melt. It vanished, turned to vapor in an instant. The crowd gasped. Next came the concrete block. The beam changed to purple, and the block exploded into dust. The tank followed, its heavy armor disappearing layer by layer until nothing remained but a shadow on the ground. "These are our lowest power weapons," the High Commander announced, his voice carrying a hint of pride. "Our ships carry devices thousands of times more powerful. Now, to prove our mercy, we will show you our strongest handheld weapon. Its beam can cut through any material known to us." He pulled out a weapon that looked different from the others. It was darker, with red light flowing through it like blood through veins. Would any human volunteer to witness its power? "We will aim at a target near them, so they can truly understand." This was the moment they had planned for. Jack stepped forward before anyone could stop him. The cameras swiveled to focus on him. "I volunteer," he said, his voice steadier than he felt. The High Commander's large eyes blinked slowly. "Brave, but foolish. Stand by that final metal plate. We will fire near you." Jack walked to the designated spot. His heart pounded, but he remembered Dr. Mason's confidence in the test results. Behind him, General Baker gripped his chair so hard his knuckles turned white. The High Commander raised the weapon. The red light grew brighter, making the air itself seem to vibrate. "For your bravery, I will share a secret. This weapon doesn't just destroy matter. It breaks the bonds between atoms themselves. Nothing can withstand it." Then everything seemed to happen at once. The alien's finger moved, but instead of aiming near Jack, he aimed directly at him. Dr. Mason shouted. General Baker jumped to his feet. The cameras zoomed in. The beam hit Jack square in the chest. For a moment, his skin glowed bright red. He felt warm, like he was standing in strong sunlight. Then, nothing. The beam continued, but Jack just stood there, blinking. The High Commander fired again, and again. Each time, Jack's skin absorbed the energy, with nothing more than a slight warming sensation. The alien's gray face turned almost white. "Impossible," he whispered, but in the complete silence, everyone heard him. Dr. Mason stepped forward, her voice clear and confident. "Not impossible, just unexpected. Human skin evolved over millions of years to handle radiation, electricity, and heat. Your weapons are useless against us." The High Commander's hands shook as he lowered his weapon. For the first time, the aliens looked afraid. Jack touched his chest, where the beam had hit. His skin wasn't even hot anymore. He looked up at the massive ship hovering above New York and smiled. The aliens had just lost their biggest advantage, and they knew it. The real war was about to begin. The world changed overnight after the Central Park demonstration. News channels played the footage on repeat, an ordinary human soldier standing unharmed against the aliens' most powerful weapon. In their orbital ship, the Dominion leaders held emergency meetings. On Earth, scientists rushed to understand exactly how human skin defeated their technology. Jack sat in Dr. Mason's lab, surrounded by humming machines. Sensors covered his arms and chest, while computers recorded every detail of his skin's reaction to different energy types. "This is amazing," Dr. Mason said, staring at her screens. "Your skin cells don't just block the energy. They absorb and redistribute it, like millions of tiny solar panels working together." More tests revealed an even bigger surprise. They brought in volunteers, soldiers, civilians, people of all ages and backgrounds. Everyone showed the same ability, though some were stronger than others. "We've been blind," Dr. Mason told General Baker during their briefing. "Humans evolved this defense against the sun's radiation. Our skin protects us from heat, electricity, and even some types of radiation. The aliens' weapons are just another form of energy, and our bodies know exactly how to handle it." The general nodded, looking at the test results. "Can we use this? Turn it into something more than just defense?" "Maybe," she replied. "Some test subjects can actually store the energy for a short time. Their skin glows for a few seconds after being hit. We might be able to train people to control this." Meanwhile, the Dominion was facing their own crisis. In their ship's command center, the High Commander faced angry calls from his superiors back home. "How can primitive beings resist our weapons?" one leader demanded. "Our technology has conquered 1,000 worlds." "Their bodies are different," the High Commander replied. "They evolved on a world with strong solar radiation. Their skin adapted to." "Excuses," another leader shouted. "Use the ship's main weapons. Destroy their cities from orbit. Show them true power." But the High Commander had seen something in Central Park that haunted him. When his weapon failed, he saw not just surprise in the human soldiers' eyes, but something worse: confidence. These humans weren't afraid anymore. Back on Earth, Jack was helping train other soldiers. They stood in lines, letting smaller versions of the alien weapons hit them. Each time, their skin absorbed the energy perfectly. "The aliens made a big mistake," Jack told his trainees. "They showed us their best weapon on day one. Now they have nothing left to surprise us with." Dr. Mason made another breakthrough that evening. She found that human skin became even better at absorbing energy with practice. The more times someone was hit by the alien weapons, the better their body handled it. "It's like building muscle," she explained to Jack. "Your skin actually gets stronger with exposure. The aliens made us stronger every time they shot at us." The news reached the Dominion ship through their spies. The High Commander read the report with growing horror. Not only were their weapons useless, but using them actually made humans more resistant. He sent an urgent message to his homeworld. "Humans are not what we thought. Their primitive appearance hides advanced biological defenses. Our energy weapons make them stronger. Request immediate permission to retreat." The response came quickly. "Retreat denied. Use ship's main cannon. Full power. No more tests." On Earth, radar stations detected power building in the alien ship. Dr. Mason's instruments showed energy readings higher than anything they'd seen before. "They're going to try something big," General Baker said, looking at the sky. Jack stood at the window, watching the ship's lights grow brighter. "Let them try," he said quietly. "Whatever they do, we'll absorb it. And then we'll show them what humans can really do." The air began to hum as the alien ship prepared to fire. But this time, Earth was ready. The revelation of humanity's power had changed everything. The real question wasn't whether they would survive. It was what they would do after they won. The Dominion ship's main cannon lit up the night sky like a second sun. The beam that shot down was massive, turning clouds to steam as it passed through them. It struck the middle of Central Park, exactly where Jack had stood days before. But Earth was ready. 500 volunteers, led by Jack, stood in a circle at the impact point. As the beam hit, their skin began to glow. The energy spread between them like a web of light, growing brighter and brighter. In her lab, Dr. Mason watched through special cameras. "It's working," she shouted to General Baker. "They're sharing the energy between them. The more people we have, the more power they can absorb." The alien beam continued for 10 minutes. When it finally stopped, the park was untouched. The volunteers stood unharmed, their skin glowing like stars. Trees and grass around them were perfectly fine, protected by the human energy shield. Impossible. The High Commander's voice boomed from the ship. That was enough power to destroy a continent. Dr. Mason rushed to the park with her equipment. What she discovered changed everything they knew about human evolution. She gathered the world's top scientists for an emergency meeting. "Look at this," she said, showing microscope images of human skin cells. "When the aliens fire their weapons, our skin cells don't just absorb the energy. They talk to each other. They share the load. The more humans stand together, the stronger the defense becomes." One scientist from India leaned forward, "Like a living shield." "Better," Dr. Mason replied. "Our bodies evolved this network over millions of years of standing under the sun. Every human on Earth is part of it. We just never knew because we never faced an attack big enough to activate the full system." In the Military Command Center, General Baker received more surprising news. The volunteers who absorbed the ship's beam were showing new abilities. Their skin could now generate small energy pulses. Nothing dangerous, but enough to interfere with the aliens' equipment. Jack demonstrated this by touching an alien weapon they had captured. The weapon's lights flickered and died. "Our bodies learned from their attack," he explained. "Now we can shut down their technology just by touching it." The High Commander watched these developments through his ship's cameras. His gray skin turned almost white with fear. Everything they knew about warfare was being proven wrong. He sent another message home. "Humans are more advanced than we thought. Their bodies adapted to our weapons in days. They can now disable our technology by touch. We cannot win this war." The response from his leaders was different this time. "Fascinating. Continue observations. Do not attack. We must study them." Dr. Mason made one final discovery that changed everything. She found that the human energy absorption ability wasn't just a defense. Under the right conditions, human skin could store energy and release it in controlled ways. "Think about it," she told General Baker. "Every human on Earth could become a living battery. We could power cities, spaceships, anything, just by standing in the sun." The aliens' weapons had forced humans to discover something that was inside them all along. They weren't just immune to energy weapons. They were the next step in biological evolution. Jack tested this theory by standing in sunlight for an hour. Then he touched a dead flashlight, and it turned on. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" he asked Dr. Mason. She nodded, looking at her latest test results. "The aliens thought they were showing us their power. Instead, they helped us discover ours. Humanity isn't just ready for the stars. We're built for them." In orbit, the Dominion ship powered down its weapons. The High Commander knew their attack had failed in the worst possible way. They hadn't just lost a battle. They had awakened something far more powerful than their technology. Earth wasn't just safe from alien weapons. It was about to become something the galaxy had never seen before. A world of living power. 1 week after the failed attack on Central Park, Earth launched its first counter-offensive against the Dominion. The plan was simple but brilliant. Since human skin could absorb and disable alien technology, traditional weapons and armor would only slow them down. 500 soldiers, with Jack in the lead, walked straight toward the Dominion's ground forces. They wore nothing but light clothing and carried basic weapons, pistols, knives, and old-fashioned rifles. The aliens laughed when they saw this seemingly primitive attack. "Look at them," the High Commander said from his ship. "They're not even wearing armor." But his laughter died when the first energy beams hit the humans. Instead of falling, the soldiers kept walking. Their skin glowed brightly, absorbing every shot. More importantly, any alien technology they touched simply stopped working. "This is incredible," Dr. Mason said, watching through binoculars from the command center. "They're not just immune. They're walking EMP fields." The alien soldiers panicked. Their powerful weapons were useless. Their protective shields died as soon as humans got close. Even their communication devices went dark at a single touch. Jack led his team into the aliens' main ground base. Every door, every security system, every defense mechanism shut down as they passed. The aliens had become so dependent on their energy technology that they had no backup plans. "Fall back." The alien commanders screamed into dead communicators. "Return to the ship." But Earth had another surprise ready. Dr. Mason had discovered that humans working together could project their energy-absorbing field. 1,000 people standing in a circle could create a zone where no alien technology would work. As the alien soldiers tried to use their transport beams to return to their ship, they found the beams wouldn't work. They were trapped on the ground. "Sir," Jack reported back to General Baker, "we've taken their main base. No casualties on our side. The aliens are surrendering in groups. Their weapons don't work, their shields are dead, and they can't call for help." The High Commander watched in horror from his ship. Humans were supposedly a primitive species, but they had turned the Dominion's greatest weakness against them: complete dependence on energy technology. "We need to retreat," he told his leaders. "These humans, they're not just resistant to our weapons. They can shut down everything we built. Our entire civilization is vulnerable to them." On the ground, more alien bases fell. Humans didn't need fancy weapons or complex strategies. They just walked in, touched the alien technology, and watched it die. The Dominion soldiers, without their advanced weapons, had forgotten how to fight any other way. Dr. Mason made another discovery during the attack. "The aliens' bodies are actually very fragile," she told General Baker. "They evolved depending on their technology. Without it, they can barely survive in Earth's gravity." A counterattack turned into a complete victory. Within 2 days, every Dominion ground force on Earth had surrendered. Their weapons were useless, their communications were dead, and their soldiers couldn't even move properly without their powered suits. Jack stood in the captured alien command center, looking at their dead screens and silent machines. "They thought they were so advanced," he said to his team. "But they forgot something important. Real strength comes from what's inside you, not what you carry." The High Commander's ship remained in orbit, but now they were the ones afraid. Every attempt to use their weapons against Earth was absorbed by the human defense network. Every probe or shuttle they sent down went dark as soon as it entered the human energy dead zone. "What do we do now?" one of the alien leaders asked during their emergency meeting. The High Commander looked down at Earth, where his mighty army had been defeated by the simplest of all defenses: human skin. "We pray," he said quietly, "that they show us more mercy than we showed them." The age of alien energy weapons was over. The age of human biological power had begun. 2 weeks after their ground forces surrendered, the Dominion made their final desperate attempt to defeat Earth. Their massive ship still hung in orbit, but now it was more like a trapped animal than a threatening predator. The High Commander had ordered his engineers to create new weapons: old-style guns that fired metal bullets, missiles with chemical explosives, and even primitive projectile launchers. Their entire civilization had to relearn warfare from scratch. "Primitive weapons for primitive humans," he announced to his troops. "We will show them that the Dominion can adapt too." But there was a problem. The aliens had used energy weapons for so long that they had lost the knowledge of how to aim physical weapons. Their arms were weak from centuries of letting powered suits do all the work. Even the recoil from a simple gun was too much for them to handle. On Earth, Dr. Mason watched the aliens' desperate preparations through powerful telescopes. "They're making a huge mistake," she told General Baker. "They think our advantage is just about absorbing energy weapons. They don't understand that humans are physically stronger than them in every way." The Dominion launched their attack at dawn. Thousands of metal projectiles rained down from their ship, but years of using only energy weapons had left them with terrible aim. Most missiles missed their targets completely. The few that did hit their marks found Earth ready. Jack and his team had trained other soldiers in close combat. Humans were naturally stronger, faster, and more durable than the aliens. Hand-to-hand combat was so one-sided it was almost funny. "This is almost sad," Jack said, watching alien soldiers struggle to lift their new weapons. They focused so much on advanced technology that they forgot about basic physical strength. In orbit, the High Commander received more bad news. Other alien species under Dominion control had heard about Earth's resistance. Many were starting to question why they had surrendered to energy weapons that humans could simply absorb. "The Empire is falling apart," one of his officers reported. "3 systems have already declared independence. They say if humans can resist us, so can they." Dr. Mason made another breakthrough in her lab. By studying the aliens' biology, she discovered why they were so physically weak. "Their homeworld has much lower gravity than Earth," she explained. "They developed energy weapons because they weren't strong enough to fight any other way." The final battle was brief. When the aliens tried to use their new physical weapons, most of them couldn't even carry them properly. Their shots went wild, their missiles flew off course, and their soldiers could barely move in their non-powered armor. Jack led a team that captured the High Commander himself. The alien leader had tried to fight with a simple metal sword, but he could barely lift it. "How?" the High Commander asked as they took him into custody. "How can you be so strong without technology?" Jack's answer was simple: "Because we never forgot that real strength comes from within. Your people chose to rely on machines. We chose to rely on ourselves." The Dominion's desperate final attack had revealed their greatest weakness. They had become completely dependent on their technology. Without their energy weapons and powered suits, they were physically inferior to humans in every way. Dr. Mason summed it up in her report to world leaders. The aliens' desperation to find new weapons actually proved why they lost. They forgot that technology should enhance natural abilities, not replace them. The High Commander's final message to his homeworld was a warning: "Do not attempt to retake Earth. These humans are not primitives. They are what we should have become. They have the perfect balance of natural strength and technological understanding. We never stood a chance." As the sun set on the final day of the war, Jack stood watching the alien ship power down for the last time. "They thought adapting meant finding new weapons," he said. "They never understood that true adaptation happens inside you, not in the tools you carry." The Dominion's desperation had only proven one thing: humanity's greatest weapon was humanity itself. 6 months after the Dominion's surrender, Earth had changed more than anyone could have imagined. The alien ship that once threatened their world now floated peacefully in orbit, converted into humanity's first space station. But that was just the beginning. Jack stood at a podium in the United Nations, addressing representatives from both Earth and 15 alien worlds that had broken free from the Dominion. His skin still glowed faintly, a reminder of the power all humans now knew they possessed. "We didn't win because we were stronger or smarter," he told the gathered crowd. "We won because we remained balanced. We kept our natural strengths while embracing technology. That's the lesson we want to share with the galaxy." Dr. Mason had turned her discovery about human skin into something revolutionary. She found ways to use humanity's natural energy-absorbing abilities to power everything from homes to spaceships. Clean, endless energy was now available simply by having humans stand in special charging stations for a few minutes each day. "Imagine," she explained to a group of alien scientists, "your civilization spent centuries trying to create perfect energy weapons. But the perfect energy system was biological, not technological. It was inside humans all along." The High Commander, now serving as an advisor to Earth's new space program, had changed too. He had started exercising, building his natural strength instead of relying on powered suits. Other aliens followed his example, learning that their bodies could grow stronger through practice. "My people forgot something important," he told Jack during one of their meetings. "We thought evolution meant replacing our weaknesses with technology. You humans showed us that real evolution means developing your natural strengths." Earth's cities were transformed. Traditional power plants were replaced by human energy centers, where volunteers took turns absorbing sunlight and sharing it with the power grid. Cars ran on batteries charged by human touch. Even spaceships were powered by crews whose skin could absorb and redirect energy. The Dominion's old empire was dissolving, but something better was taking its place. Other alien species learned from humanity's example. They rediscovered their own natural abilities that had been hidden by over-reliance on technology. Each species has its own gifts, Dr. Mason announced at a galactic science conference. Humans can absorb energy. We've discovered that some aliens can naturally process toxins, others can see radiation, and some can communicate across space. We just needed to remember to look inside ourselves instead of only building machines. Jack led the first human mission to another star system. Their ship used no conventional engines, just the combined energy-absorbing and redirecting power of its human crew. They covered in days what would have taken the Dominion's ships months. The galaxy was waiting for us. He logged in the ship's record, not because we were special, but because we never lost touch with what made us human. The High Commander's final act was to share all of his people's technological knowledge with Earth, but he added a warning. Use this to enhance what you are, not to replace it. That was our mistake. Dr. Mason's last discovery was perhaps the most important. Human skin wasn't just absorbing and redirecting energy, it was evolving. Each generation would be born with stronger abilities. Humanity's gift would only grow stronger. We're entering a new age, she told the world. Not an age of technology or an age of biology, but an age of balance. That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy. At the edge of the solar system, Jack stood on the observation deck of humanity's newest ship. The stars stretched out before him, now filled with possibility instead of threat. His skin glowed softly, powering the ship's systems as naturally as breathing. Ready to explore? His crew asked. Jack smiled, looking at the endless stars ahead. Human skin, once considered primitive by the Dominion, had opened up the galaxy. But more importantly, it had taught everyone, human and alien alike, that true strength comes from embracing what you are, not trying to be something else. Ready, he said. Let's show the galaxy what humanity can really do. The age of balance had begun, and it started with the simplest thing of all, human skin.